Well, I woke up. Like, officially woke up. I've been thinking that I was, awake and seeing the world for what it really was for a long time. Like, see what's actually happening in this world. And I had no idea. I legitimately had no idea. And it all started with me kind of coming to the realization that 50% of this country has a completely different way of viewing the world than me. And I've always kind of had this idea that it was because they were being lied to, or they were being manipulated, or they were evil, or they were stupid. That's the reason why they're able to vote for the person that they're voting for in spite of all of the really scary things that are happening in the world. And I realized that it cannot be true. It cannot be true that every single one of these people falls into one of those categories. And maybe they're voting for the person that they're voting for with all of those dangers or the scary things, either because A, they don't see them, or because the things that they see on my side are scarier to them than the things that are happening on theirs. And that really made me start to question, because I'm personally not really I haven't been afraid of much from my political party. And I was like, what are they seeing? And so I really made it a mission of mine to I wasn't going to agree with what they were seeing, but I wanted to understand it. And so I kind of went out on this mission to try to start understanding what they were seeing that was so scary to them, or something that was such a substantial aversion that they were willing to vote for someone that I deemed to be evil. And I started by kind of dipping my toe in the pool by listening to, it's kind of like a documentary. And it was a very simple idea, asking a very simple question. And people were not able to answer. They were not able to answer a very simple question, something that should be easy to answer if you're willing to formulate a worldview around it. And I'm looking at these people, I was like, you're either at a rally or you're a specialist in the why are you not able to answer these simple questions? And it really started to make me think, what if there's more to this than I thought? And so I talked to a friend of mine who is someone on the opposite side of the political party who recommended a book to me. And this friend of mine is someone that I really don't agree with, but I still respect as a person. Someone that we can still, as long as we don't talk politics, we can still hang out and have a really good time. And I trust that they would never do something to actively hurt me. And they recommended this book to me, and I ordered it. I started to read it, and I literally got maybe a paragraph in, and I shut it. I was like, I can't read this. This is the worst. This is an evil person saying evil things, and I felt personally attacked by this book. I closed it, and I was like, why can't I read this? I tried to open it back up, and I just couldn't. There was a mental block. I could not read it. And I started thinking to myself, why can't I? And so little bits at a time, sometimes a paragraph, sometimes a page, I forced myself to read this book. And as I went through it, I've been, told in my head that this is an evil person, pushing an evil agenda. And as I read it, I was like, this is not an evil person. This is someone that's speaking with compassion, someone that is trying to actively warn people that they don't even agree with, that have a completely different worldview of true dangers within the ideology that they have, their political affiliation. And it was really, really hard. I cannot stress how hard it was for me to get through this book. Every fiber of my being fought against it. And, I usually read a novel in, a couple weeks. I read a lot. And this book took me months to get through. And it was for that very reason. I was like, I'm already so emotionally stressed out and physically uncomfortable all the time that I couldn't, in my free time, make myself feel that voluntarily. But I was on this mission to understand, to figure out why we're moving in such different directions and why we can't talk to each other anymore. And as I got through this book, my worldview just started getting holes poked in it. And I started kind of looking at things from a different perspective, seeing things that I didn't really even know were occurring, threats to our society that I didn't know were there. And it was really, really hard. I was so confident that I'm on the right side of history, looking over at other people and being like, how are you doing what you're doing? And I was at that moment, I started entertaining the idea of what if I'm wrong? What if I'm wrong? And so I fought and I fought, and I started listening to people that I had deemed evil. People that I said, this person over there is one of the reasons why this country is going to shit, because they're lying to us, they're actively manipulating people, or they're just flat out intolerant or evil or whatever. And while I think some of those things are true, because I've seen the videos and the content of them being those things, but as I listened more and more and forced myself to listen, I realized that there was more to it, that not everything that they were saying was evil. And as I began listening and opening my mind to the possibility that I might be wrong, that was when it really changed for me. I started actually seeing wholesome content. I started seeing, people speaking with compassion and just like, what is this country becoming? And how are we gonna let it happen? And when are we gonna say enough is enough? And it started to tear down my entire world, the way that I saw everything. And while my personal beliefs didn't change that much, the way that I saw the world and the dangers that I saw substantially changed. And not only was I looking at a boogeyman in front of me who had captured my attention for a long time, I started looking behind me to the people that I've been defending and saying, holy crap, you have gone insane. You've gone insane. And I didn't personally feel like I've become a radical person, but I realized that I've been supporting radical ideas and radical people.
Yep.
And I was flat out ignoring the dangers that the most extreme parts of my political party were posing on society. And when I'm thinking to myself, what do they see over there that scares them so much that they're still willing to vote for the person that they're willing to vote for? It's because they saw that. And I haven't been looking, or I haven't been willing to open my mind to the possibility. Or I'm thinking to myself, you know what, that's a small thing in comparison to what I see over there, because that boogeyman is still real. And my entire world has been crumbling over the last couple days. And there was a kind of a shift for me where I was really, really having a hard time listening to people that I didn't agree with. And then it became this hunger for knowledge, because I started detaching myself from that narrative, having to be in that group. Because so much stress and anger and hatred in the world that finding a group that I can be a part of was really appealing. And as soon as I kind of separated myself from that and started, actually looking at things objectively, I started consuming the other side, their vlogs and YouTube videos and news articles, and figuring out how do they see these news events that I've seen, because, I lived through them. I feel like I know exactly what happened, but they feel the same way, and it's a different reality. So of course the reality that they live in is different than mine. They're going to feel differently than me. And a lot of that has to do with the blame of the news and our politicians and just flat out deceiving us. And so
Facts.
The last couple of days, I've felt alone. I feel like I can't talk to anyone. I've tried to talk to some of my family and friends about it, and most people just shut me down or say I'm going over to the dark side. And it's all I'm doing is trying to acknowledge some dangers within my own political party. That doesn't mean that I'm going to jump over and vote for the person that I've deemed evil, because I still believe that. I'm just also recognizing dangers behind me as well. So I really don't know. I'm so confused, and I'm really, really going to try to continue to learn and to figure out, because I'm sure the truth is in the middle. They're over there lying to them. I just need to assume that they're lying to me too. And I need to figure out what the truth is. And I don't know how I'm going to do that, other than maybe just listening to both sides and trying to figure out what's in the middle. Because I don't really see unbiased people out there. We don't want to hear unbiased stuff. We want to hear stuff that fits the narrative and the worldview that we have, because it's easier. So I'm just going to post as I explore this, because it's unreal to me, but I also feel free. I can now watch stuff from the left or stuff from the right without feeling personally attacked, because I am no longer considering myself to be a part of that.
Congrats.
And what does that look like? Because these trains have been diverging for a very long time, and I just decided I want to get off. I don't want to be on this train anymore. And I'm just going to start kind of looking around for other people that have gotten off the train too.
Because I think it's a very mean life. I would love, and I would dedicate my life to this country, but I see it as being a mean life. And I also see it that somebody with strong views and somebody with the kind of views that are maybe a little bit unpopular, which may be right, but maybe unpopular, wouldn't necessarily have a chance of getting elected against somebody with no great brain but a big smile. And that's a sad commentary for the political process.